What kind of advice are you giving them to ramp up their deal flow?
So is like to ramp it up. Number one, like it's making as many offers as you possibly can in a day, right? And just trying to get good. And the only way you're going to do that is you're going to, get really good at underwriting deals on the fly. Just kind of like being able to look at it real quick and analyzing the data without getting like analysis paralysis, right? You don't want to dive too far.
How are you doing that?
The biggest thing I use like right now, like I was actually one of my students, we were going over it last night, and PPC deal came in right when we jumped on our call, and I ended up going through the whole thing, made the offer. I lowballed the shit out of the guy. Right. But
what would be a lowball for you?
Under 40%. Under 40% ARV, like on a regular. And this house was this, yeah. But it's sticker shock, right? Because like, and it's kind of not get off topic, but like the way I was taught, like, is not to give out the first number ever, right? And at least ask 10, 7 to 10 times, just different, going different routes to try to get some kind of number out of them to see, because why do you want to offer somebody 70% of ARV, like when they had it in their mind that they were just going to take 40%, right? So say if I said, hey, Aaron, how much do you want for a house? Like $100,000. And you're like, well, yeah. But in your mind, you went into the call prepared to take 70. Now I just cost myself $30,000, right? So when I can't get those numbers out of the guy, and I'll tell you the situation with this is why. So the guy had his house on market. It was on market for like 180 something days. It was outside of Austin. So it had failed. And I'm looking at data at the same time I'm talking to him. His neighbor, they started at like 635. They canceled the listing at 520, right? And I'm looking at this. I'm like, okay. And it was on market 170, 180 days. So his next door neighbor's house is listed at 480 in better condition than his house was, right? There's an as is cash comp that just closed like 439 right around the block on the next cul-de-sac over. So he's sitting here telling me, he's like, yeah, and he's blaming it on the agent, a shitty agent. I said, it doesn't matter. I said, if the house was on the market, if there was somebody interested, they would have bought it, right? And he's like, yeah, I'm probably just going to put it back to close to where we listed it, probably in another month when the market recovers, this and that. And I was just like, okay. And I just kept trying to get a number. I was like, what would you take right now? And he's like, I don't know, probably something close to what like the number was when we canceled the listing. And I was like, okay, so like $400,000 wouldn't get it done right now. And he's just like, oh, he's like 400. But then he was just like, how quick would you close that?
There you go.
And I'm like, within the next month or so. And then he literally countered me on the spot. He's like, what do you think you could do, like 425 or 430? And I was like, probably not, And then I said, you're in front of the computer. I said, why don't you look at these two houses? I said, your neighbor's house is completely remodeled and it's sold for 480 after 100 days. And then he's like, well, I didn't really realize it sat that long. So when they see that, right? Had he not seen it, or you get another wholesaler on the phone that they don't do that, they're going to lose that deal. But because he saw what actual data was, I'm probably going to get that thing close to 400,000.
Right.
And my plan is the investor that bought that cash comp, that as is, I already skip traced his number last night. As soon as I get it signed, I'm calling him, be like, hey, you want to buy the house next door or around the block? Right. So
there you go.
And just being able to do that is one thing, like analyze that data without getting stuck, because with like PPC deals, that's the biggest thing, is you have to be able to do that while you're on the first call with people, because remember, they're reaching out to us,
Right.
So yeah, I was just saying, it's just, you just got to remember, like, you got to answer the phone, and that's another thing. Like one story I remember, like Chris and Dustin told me, like back in the day when they started doing bandit signs, and they had asked one of the guys that they called, answered the phone, they got the house, assigned it. So they go back and be like, hey, why'd you choose us? And he's like, well, I seen like 18 of those signs on the side of the freeway. And he's like, you guys were literally the first people to answer the phone. That's how easy it is to make the money, you know? Just answer your phone, do the work.